Hey guys, welcome to Asian Persuasion MMA's first ever Asian Weekly Roundup, where we look at what's been going on in the world of combat sports in this part of the world. And the story that's grabbed my attention the most this week is the fact that One Championship is going to go head to head with the UFC later this month. One Championship Pinnacle of Power was supposed to go down on June the 16th in Beijing, but it's been pushed back a week. We now go down June the 23rd in Macau. That does mean it's going to go head to head with UFC Singapore. Same day, pretty sure the same time, and the same part of the world. Don't think we've ever had a head to head like this before. I know last November, One Championship had an event in Singapore on the Friday night, and I think UFC had an event, in Macau on the Saturday night. I think that was the closest they've come to a direct head to head. I know as well, I think both organisations have had problems hosting MMA events in mainland China. I think Macau's been the sort of safer option there. But either way, One Championship Pinnacle Power will go down on the 23rd of June, and it will have two title fights. In the main event, you've got Zhong Jingnan, the Chinese fighter, defending her strawweight title against Laura Bailin from Argentina. That should be a fun one. It's the Panda's first title defence, and it's obviously in her home country, so it's going to be a big one. In the co-main event, I think you could argue that it's an even bigger fight. You've got Adriano Moraes take on Gaethje Eustaquio in what is a champion versus interim champion. I mean, that is going to be a fun one. That is going to be a huge one. I really can't wait for that one. Elsewhere on that card, you've got Ev Ting fighting, you've got Danny Kingad fighting, you've got Elaine Galani fighting, who I don't think's ever been in a boring fight. With Ev Ting, we will be chatting to Ev Ting. I think he's going to be a guest on our podcast just before the fight, or probably just after the fight, so look out for that. Always enjoy seeing Ev Ting fight, and always enjoy talking to Ev Ting. That night in Singapore, obviously you've got Cowboy Cerrone fighting Leon Edwards in the main event there. That is a big main event. It's also a pretty stacked card. So for MMA fans in this part of the world, although they might be happening at the same time, what a weekend of fights. What else has been going on? Martin Nguyen, the champ in One Championship. Since his fight in Singapore, we beat Christian Lee by split decision. Not quite sure how it's a split decision, but he did win that fight. Since that fight, he said he'd like to fight Kevin Bellingham next in the 135 pound. That'd be a fun one. I mean, Kevin Bellingham has been on a tear. Martin has said that his main goal is to become the champ. Obviously, he lost split decision back in Bangkok a couple of months ago to Bibiano Fernandes. There's talk that Bibiano still hasn't recovered from Martin's leg kicks. So I think that's why he'd love to fight Kevin Bellingham in what he says would be either for the interim championship or for the number one contender spot. Either way, the winner of that versus Bibiano Fernandes, that would be huge. He also said he's very keen to defend his featherweight and lightweight belt. Obviously just defended the featherweight belt against Christian Lee. I think probably the lightweight would be ahead of that then. He said Ev Ting is up there, as is Edward Fuliang. He said they both may need one or two more wins before they can challenge him. He also said that Shinya Oeki, he believes is the number one contender now in that lightweight division. And said that obviously Marek Gavrov in the featherweight division is obviously on his radar as well. So lots of options there for Martin Nguyen. I think there's a lot of people that want to fight him, and he did say when we spoke to him in Bangkok that he does plan on being active. Elsewhere, Angela Lee, since her fight in Singapore where she won decision over Mai Yamaguchi, has said that she'd like to go up weight class and challenge for the belt there. Hopefully that'd be against the Panda, who fights in China later this month. When we spoke to Mai Yamaguchi straight after that fight, Mai did say that she thought that Angela would relinquish the atomweight belt and just concentrate on moving up a weight class, that strawweight division. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think Angela did have a tough weight cut for that fight, and obviously you can't cut a lot of weight. I really like what they do regarding weight cut in one. So I think if you're struggling to make weight, then I think you definitely will move up a weight class. Obviously as well with that fight, Angela versus May, a lot of people thought May won that fight. What did you think? Let us know. Mate, I was there. It was a tough one to call, especially as one. It does. They scorecards fights on the whole fight rather than per round. I think you could argue if it was per round, Angela probably won the first 3, certainly the first 2 rounds, and you could definitely say May won the 4th and 5th round. As a whole, it's a tricky one, very close, very tough. I think if you're fighting against the defending champion and it's in her backyard, as Singapore is kind of Angelique's backyard, then you may argue that May didn't do enough, that she made him need to do more. But it's a tough one. You can see why May was disappointed with the result. But maybe she'll get a chance to get a rematch, or possibly more likely if Angela does move up and relinquish that fight for the title herself there. You can watch that, our chat with May on our YouTube channel, as you can our Martin Nguyen post-fight interview, and Edward Fulliang, who actually also, can't remember if I mentioned that, is on Martin's radar for that lightweight, to defend his lightweight belt. Elsewhere, Aung Song, he will defend his belt at the end of this month in Yangon. He's going to take on Ken Hasegawa, who is the former deep Mekaton champion. I think Aung Song, really worshipped like a hero in Myanmar. I think the talk was that he was going to fight Leandro Ataides after he beat Vitaly Bigdash with a knockout. But I think this card's come a little bit too soon for Leandro following his knockout win over Vitaly. That fight definitely will happen. He's certainly probably next in line. I think he's won his last 3 fights now. I think 2 of them have been by pretty spectacular knockouts, including one I think was knockout of the year in one championship. So the fight there with Ken, that's one to look forward to, and certainly Leandro, that would be a really fun one. Elsewhere, Superbon Banchamak, he fought for the first time in 3 months in a Muay Thai fight. That went down in Macau as well. That went down at Kunlun Fight Macau, previously called Kunlun Fight 75, and they changed the name of it there for whatever reason. That was over Dianis Ziev, and that was it went to decision, but I think Superbon was certainly the outclassed his opponent there. Bit of a Muay Thai legend. Elsewhere, Kevin Lee, he's been on an Asian tour. Obviously, UFC lightweight contender, one of the most exciting fighters in that division. Up there, there's talk. I think was it Joe Rogan or Brandon Schaub said that he's definitely next in line to fight Khabib for that title. Or if there's a question mark over Conor McGregor. I think he finds out this month how badly he'd be in trouble with the law, following obviously the incident with the bus and the flying bins and all of that. Tony Ferguson obviously injured, so it'd be interesting to see what happens next with Kevin Lee. But yeah, he's been on a fun tour of Asia. You can check out the videos, the UFC videos, on the Asian Persuasion MMA Facebook page. Lastly, just want to talk as well about Brave 13. It goes down this Friday in Belfast. It's Brave's first fight night in Europe, and having experienced Brave 12 last month myself in Jakarta, they've got a fun night of fights. They're a fun organisation. They're kind of the new kids on the block, but I think they're going to go from strength to strength, and this Friday night is going to be a fun one. Interesting main event for the belt. You've got Stephen Lohman defending his belt against Franz Malumbo. That's interesting for a few different reasons. It's a rematch. Obviously, Stephen Lohman won the first fight but Franz has looked very good since that fight. Also pits Team Lakai of here Philippines versus SBG Island, two biggest gyms in the world, particularly Team Lakai in this part of the world is done phenomenal things. Their fight's been on a real tear recently, and obviously you've got SBG Island, the home of Conor McGregor. Also pits two very good coaches, two of the best coaches in the game as far as I'm concerned. Coach Mark Sangal of Team Lakai versus Coach John Kavanagh from SBG. So that's going to be a fun fight. In the co-main event, you've got Stormy Norman Park, who I think has had almost 10 fights in the UFC, been in the Ultimate Fighter, lots of experience, and then you've got lots of fights throughout the whole card. Harry, Asian Persuasion MMA's Harry, will be in Belfast covering that event, so stay tuned for the latest news there and interviews with the fighters. Also, Harry put together a little UK roundup last Friday. You can check that out on our Facebook page and also our YouTube channel. I think Akhilesh is doing a little Indian roundup this Wednesday. Talking of Akhilesh and myself, we've done a really fun podcast this morning with Art Davey. If you haven't heard of Art Davey, he's the creator and the co-founder of the UFC. He put the UFC back together 25 years ago. He's being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame next month. He's a huge, fun character. We had a really fun chat with him this morning. That's going to go up online probably tomorrow, so you definitely want to look out for that as a really fun chat. And that's it for the first Asian Persuasion MMA Asian Roundup. I'll be back next week to bring you more, the latest, what's going on in this region. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.